Hello everyone, Bengaris here, and welcome back to another all-boss run of Dark Souls 1. We just finished the Quelaag run. We are now getting into the Iron Golem run. Should be interesting. Might be tedious. Could be cool. I have a sneaking suspicion that their grabs might work on themselves. Like, I think that they can actually grab each other. So if we can bait out grabs and they can grab each other, that would just be hilarious to see, number one. And number two, it would, get them to hurt each other, which would be helpful in and of itself. I was about to say, if the game didn't load, I would be very disappointed. Look at those marvelous chess pieces.
The dark sign brands the undead. And in this land, the undead are corralled and led to the north. Where they are locked away to await the end of the world.
Let us go. Oh, things are a-shaken. There's the big guy, or at least one of them. I wonder, can I... I'm curious now. This is a stupid idea. I don't even know why I'm doing this. It's not worth it, but it was worth attempting just to see if it was possible. With great quirkiness comes great fuckery. Alright, now I need to see... That's slightly less stability, but it's got higher durability in general, so... Yeah, see, this run I'm not really going to be worried about for anything in particular. It's mainly just killing the enemy that's the issue. I think we'll just leave things sort of as they are at the moment. And just see where the fight takes us. It is kind of funny how it seems like these guys give twice as much as Quelaag. So we are in a situation where... Well, let's see if they'll hurt each other up there. Come on, do attacks or something. Alright, they can kill each other. This is going to be slow, but it's going to be beautiful. Come on, do it again. Do it again. Great golems of the sky. Uh-oh. That might complicate things a bit. In any case, they definitely can hurt each other. Do they have to physically be able to aim at me to hit me? I wonder about that. Come on, I want to fuck with you. Let's see. I take damage through my shield from that attack, and I don't really... What kind of damage does this even count as? Is this some weird, otherworldly damage type? Because I don't think this counts as magic. Come on, you're almost there. Do it. Do it. Do it! Kill her! The Riddle Moon movies are such a good meme, but they are awful. It's like Star Wars written by like a 13-year-old edgelord that's just horny and stupid. Come on, right there. I just need one attack. Just one. That's all it takes. Here we go. Yes. Glorious victory. I'm going this way because I need to get the... I think I need to get the key anyway. Maybe I don't. I forgot about that. Yeah, because speedrunners skip over that, but I've had like issues where some bosses don't drop the key immediately. Or maybe not. I can't remember why. Do I have the thing? I just need to pay attention. No, I don't have the key. Yeah, like I defeated the boss, but I didn't get the key. Give me the key. Give me. Come on. Thank you. This one's going to be a weird mix of different things, because on the one hand, these enemies have one ranged attack and a grab. So those two things are going to be dangerous when sort of comboed, and because the grab can get me through walls, and if the grab can get me through walls, it can pull me into walls, which can make me fall out of the world and just die, right? But on the positive end, these enemies are huge, right? Like, they're massive. So they're going to easily fall off of shit. And they'll easily kill each other with all these different moves, right? So we should be in good hands to just sort of do what we normally do. Oh, a bunch of them just... They also have a unique falling animation, which I think is kind of funny. I mean, look at them go. Ah! I keep seeing that 150k drop, and it's like, wow, that looks good. But then it's like, yeah, I need like 4 million to level up, though. I need 40 of them to die to get a level. Let us see how this goes. Okay, make sure I have my setup here. See, will you just attack that way and fall off? That'd be fantastic. Alright, you guys will hurt each other, so I'm going to rely on that pretty heavily here. I don't know what's up with that one guy over there, but fuck it. why you're stuck. Okay, just the load distance has not been kind to you two, for whatever reason. Alright, we're almost there. Hey, they managed to kill each other. Now you are alone. This is one thing too, these guys are very slow, so I can easily outrun them, which will help in certain instances. My biggest issues will be dealing with them regarding the grabs through walls that I cannot see. One thing as well, I remember that their grab like the hitbox for the grab goes lower than where their feet sort of stand, so I do need to be careful about the grab from a certain perspective underneath them. I need to keep a certain distance to be safe. Think about it, Dark Bead might not be good for this enemy because they're kind of tall. I can't really get all of the Dark Bead like hits to hit properly. Don't need to worry too much about a whole lot of things. Just stay alive and let them kill themselves. I could probably sit here for a little bit. But I don't think their attacks will hit me as long as they're in the way. Sorry if you get motion sickness easily. Definitely going to need as many projectiles as I can spawn here. Alright, we need a lot of projectiles. A lot of projectiles. I'm thinking we probably just go with the... maybe the heavy soul arrows? That might go the farthest in terms of like damage to attack ratio. I'm not sure. It's usually a thing where the weaker the spell, the more castings we'll usually get. Let's give Great Soul Arrow a try and see how it does. It'll also help because we'll have tons of castings that we can use. Alright. I'm not going to boost that. Maybe that does 120 with that. How much does it do when it's boosted? About 200. It's actually a good time to try shit. Alright, let's see. Alright, these should be stronger. How much do these do? 300. It's not bad. That's about 450. I wonder if it might be better to have soul arrows just because, or soul spears just because they pierce. That might be the... We might just have a shit ton of just crystal, like, piercing shit. Just because these enemies... Actually, hold on. I keep thinking of something in the middle of explaining what I plan to do, and so the plan changes. Alright, so... I think this will give us more damage while still maintaining like a decent defense. So let us test and see how much damage this does. Throw me! Woo! Alright, never mind. I'm gonna stick with soul spears. One day we will have enough crystal soul spears to blot out the sun, and it will be a glorious day indeed. Checking the blood now. I keep forgetting that the soul amounts are just going to keep ticking up, just farther and farther and farther. Alright, one thing I do need to do is I need to get the key from that NPC down there. If he's even alive. Forgot to get that earlier. Actually, while they're shooting each other... Actually, wait. If I get high enough, will they be able to hit him with the ranged attacks? Aha, they will. That's cool. Alright. While that's going on, I'm going to look up something real quick. Alright, I'm going to look at the wiki here and see how we're doing in terms of what this boss is strong to and weak to. Alright, he's pretty weak to lightning. Probably need to work on lightning weapons. Alright, so I should... See that? The scythe has greater range than the lightning spear. And it's fast, so I wonder if using the lightning scythe will be better than some of the other stuff we've been dealing with. I think about it, I don't actually have to be reserved about spending stuff at this point. I'm going to get the key from the guy and then I'm going to move on. Now that hardly did anything. Seems like this guy might just be tough to everything. He's just going to be slow. Don't kill him. I need his shit. Now, this is one of the things that will become a problem as the run goes on. It's just, some of the shit these guys do is going to be problematic for different reasons. I think the lightning axe will be useful. I don't know. We shall see how this goes as it sort of goes. Nope, that barely does anything. Seems like his defenses are just massive no matter what we do. I wonder if it might be better just to shoot him a whole bunch. Let's use some crossbow bolts. Do we have any lightning bolts? Yeah, we do. Tons of them. It's not bad. Be shooting him in the dick for hours on end. Nice. Is this a relative safe spot? I think so. falling, apparently. He's having a moment. Can I shoot him from here? Nope. Maybe I can. Hallelujah. I want to try to keep my soul spears for when I need to hit them. When I need to damage them quickly. One thing as well is I don't actually know. I don't actually remember where we get these lightning bolts from. That can't be good. I kind of want to check something now. I want to see which weapon does more damage with the like low tier arrows. The bolts have a higher damage thing, so it makes me wonder if that's more damaging in any significant way. Okay. Regular bolt does 68. That does 59. Okay, that screwed up the number. That does 54. Okay, so the crossbow's gonna do more damage. Think of it. I could probably play this run a little bit more normally. No, my friend. Hi, you. Give me your great loot. Alright, we might be in a better position just to stand here for a minute. How many of you are left? At least a few. Look at those souls, man. Go to rest here because why not? Just a casual million souls right there. Guy in here. This might be one of the easier runs when I think about it, because these enemies will get stuck everywhere. And they'll physically move, and like, your attacks move them. So they'll probably be prone to falling off of ledges. We also got the whole thing of the ranged attack that has a huge sort of splash effect. They also deal a lot of damage to each other, and as far as I could tell from the wiki, they probably only have about 6,000 health. Or something close to that. It's just kind of, the more I think about it, the more glad I am to be in this run. They also don't glitch out the game. Quelaag. Still bitter about that. The only annoying part about fighting these enemies is that they are not as susceptible to bow damage as a lot of the other bosses are. So that, like, they take reduced physical damage because they're literally just a giant armored suit. Now, magic damage, they seem to take a decent bit of, but I don't have a whole lot of options as far as that goes. And as far as miracles go with electricity and lightning spears, I only have a couple of those. So they're not going to be that useful when compared to magic, because I can only carry 2 weapons, you know, in the sort of category, you know. I like to keep shields in the left hand. I don't like having weapons in both hands. I like having a defensive option in one and an aggressive option in the other. So dealing with this is going to be strange as we sort of go. So it'll be a weird thing where when we have plenty of magic, they'll go down quick. When we don't, it's going to be slower if they're on their own. Now they obviously hurt themselves, which helps tremendously. So that'll make things a little easier in groups. But when we get down to like 1 or 2 in specific spots, that's where we're going to have issues with just having to shoot them just over and over and over. Alright, now, one thing I was worried about... Okay, ammo is retained in the item box in New Game Plus. That is good. That is good. I wanted to put as many types of ammo in the item box as possible. So we've almost maxed out that stat. It's going to be wonderful. Alright, okay. Solaire will be helpful. So we should probably do more Solaire shit. At least have him for boss fights. I don't really care about Covenant stuff at this point, since magic seems to be the superior option out of the types of damage we can deal. You know. I mean, that is one thing. It's like it's really annoying to get it's really annoying to get I'm gonna go ahead and take care of this guy. But when you compare the like magic types, like miracles are weird to get because you have to do sort of what's her face's quest line. Is her name Rhea? Is that what I'm thinking? You have to do her quest line, which gives you replenish and then all the miracles she sells, which requires you to get to the late game to get a bunch of her shit. Then you have Laurentius and Pyromancer Lady, who you really don't have to get that far in the game. You just have to get up to Quelaag, basically, and make it back to Firelink, and by that time, you've got a lot of Pyromancies unlocked. And then you've got Sorcery with Logan and the other guy that I can never remember his name. So you got this weird sort of thing of... You got this weird thing where it's really easy to get aggressive spells for Pyromancy and Pyromancy and Sorcery, but Miracles, it's difficult to get the lightning. It's difficult to get the lightning to chuck because, as far as I can tell, you can't buy those from. You can't buy them from anybody. You have to do it through like a covenant or something. This is one weird thing I've been thinking about as I've been going through these runs, is that at this point I've sort of got the strategies down for how to deal with certain enemies in certain locations. It usually boils down to let them kill each other and then whittle down the remaining ones. Or it deals with just whittling them down from a distance with a bow and just all the ammo we can muster, right? Those seem to be the best overall strategies, given the way the game sort of works at this point. So that means all the strategies are going to sort of revolve around those types of playstyles. You know what I mean? So, in a way, I've sort of solved the problem of the runs, like in total for Dark Souls 1 at this point. It's just a matter of dealing with certain encounters involving enemies that, don't have friendly fire, right? Like Ornstein and Smough, and the Four Kings, I'm pretty sure are the only ones that are not going to have friendly fire as an option, right? So that means those runs are going to be the ones that have weird shit going on, right? Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! The shit! It hit me through the walls. Fuck! Retreat! Now, there might be fun little variables like that get in the way of things, but they're usually relatively few and far between. But as far as like strategy goes, a lot of these things are just going to boil down to stuff we've already sort of done. That makes these runs sort of one-dimensional after a while, besides the boss's unique quirks. Alright, this area is going to be weird. Now we wait. But yeah, going through the runs for the rest of Dark Souls 1, the only ones that I'm genuinely interested in at this point are largely going to be Ornstein and Smough, the Moonlight Butterfly because it's glitchy, Ceaseless Discharge, and the Centipede Demon because I have no idea how they're going to fight in a world where they can fall to pits, or I don't even know if the Ceaseless Discharge run is going to work. Like, I don't know if that game will just glitch out and we'll just immediately win as soon as we load the enemy in the boss arena. I don't know how that works. So Ceaseless Discharge is going to be the biggest wild card in this run. The Bed of Chaos is going to be a joke because they're all just going to be little worms. And ironically, the Bed of Chaos itself as a boss fight is going to be the only challenge in that run, as far as I'm concerned. Let's see, then we got Seath is going to be a weird run because he is a massive target. And he can hurt himself, but he has that curse buildup, which is going to be its own sort of issue, as well as the crystal effect that like damages you through the ground. So that's going to be its own sort of problems to deal with. Nito, I feel like isn't going to be that bad because he has friendly fire enabled. So I feel like his only issue is going to be if they AoE spam too much before I can sort of like, Nito's going to be sort of like a weird DPS race before he can, like, blow me up to smithereens. Will he AoE me to death, or will I snipe him to death, pretty much? As far as the DLC bosses go, I imagine the Sanctuary Guardian and Artorias are going to fall into abysses a lot, just because they have they're very mobile. And Artorias has a few jump moves that might cause him to fall into pits of death constantly, which will be funny. Kalameet and Manus I'm really interested in just because Kalameet's a massive boss and he has a lot of movement to his attack, so he's going to be all over the place with his attacks. They're also very wide-reaching, so dealing with them is going to be insane. And I think he might also be one of the highest damaging bosses of the game. I'm not quite sure like on average who does the most damage, but I know Kalameet is arguably the hardest boss fight of the base game. Part of that is just because he's so aggressive, right? So putting hundreds of him around the world is going to make for a crazy run, especially given the range of his like breath attacks and fire attacks and stuff like that. And Manus is going to be weird because of the way his spells work, I'm mainly worried about his AoE spell where he summons the Dark Orbs that spawn around the arena and then come to him. because I don't know if that only works in the arena or if that's going to exist in the world. Now, we do have the pendant, or talisman or whatever it is, that like deflects that shit, which I feel like we are going to be spamming that entire run. So that creates a unique element to that run that's sort of like more parry focused, which I guess is fitting because I'm going to do Manus right before Gwyn, so I guess timing will be a good sort of build up before we actually deal with, you know, the big boy himself, which I feel like the Gwyn run's not going to be that difficult, all things considered. But yeah, a lot of the runs in Dark Souls 1 at this point are going to be sort of repeat the same strategy over and over and just see how the enemy behaves in certain scenarios. After that, it just comes down to snipe them a lot and find choke points to abuse their AI, pretty much. I'm really curious of how we're going to do Dark Souls 2, just because Dark Souls 2 has so many different variables from Dark Souls 1. We also have the whole angle of poison being extremely effective. But like Dark Souls 2 has so many quirks that are different from Dark Souls 1 that are going to make the runs so unique in their own right. But then we're going to have the new game plus element of like extra enemies and NPCs that I'm not going to replace, so we'll still have certain levels of NPC fuckery going on. And so going through Dark Souls 2 is just going to be weird. I mean, the whole process is going to be weird. But, I don't know, just each run's going to have its own level of quirks to it. And I think that'll be fun to deal with. The only thing I'm not looking forward to with Dark Souls 2 is certain runs that involve enemies that have sort of cheap shit, you know. You know, like I imagine that the let's see, what am I trying to say? Like the Rotten is going to have his explosion move, which does absurd shadow damage or dark damage, right? So that's going to be its own issue. And then we're going to have Freya with her laser beam. So imagine like tons of laser beams going everywhere. And then we've got Dark Lurker, you know, who's just a good single fight, but when you just spam them together and they probably don't have friendly fire damage, it's just gonna suck fighting Dark Lurker, because Dark Lurker has just so many spells that will become a problem. Yeah, oh man, I didn't even think about the Ancient Dragon run's gonna be hell as well. Same thing with Nashandra. Same thing with Aldia. The Gang Squad's going to be a weird run because tons of those enemies are going to spawn, and it's going to be random, as far as I know, in terms of which one of the three of them will spawn in any given situation. So we could have 3 snipers appear, or we could have 3 bleed guys, or we could have 3 Havels that can self-heal. So it really is just, you know, the bosses that have multiple enemies in them are going to have weird effects based on what the randomizer decides to spawn. And so that'll make those runs interesting, if a bit chaotic as well. I feel like this is one of those runs where I don't really benefit from a lot of the lightning bonuses. It seems like damage to the Golem is sort of negligibly stronger with lightning. So it's going to be weird to deal with that. I'm... Okay, I was like stuck in the floor for a second. I couldn't move. Not sure why that was. It was strange. But yeah, getting back to what I was sort of leading to with the discussion about the different runs is, I feel like at this point I've sort of solved most of the Dark Souls 1 challenges at this point. It tends to be just find choke point, abuse AI, shoot from a distance, repeat. Dark Souls 2 is going to be fun because I have no idea what strategy is going to work best there. I feel like we're going to have a heavy emphasis on poison usage. That seems like the most useful strategy at this point. But we'll have to see how that goes, because, you know, Dark Souls 2 is going to have so many unique issues by comparison to some of the other shit. One guy. But yeah, so like the kind of thing I was trying to lead you before this guy rudely started slapping me around is the strategies for Dark Souls 2 are going to be weird because of the just simple difference of mechanics in that game between poison being overpowered, all the different items used for healing and spell restoration, all the weird fuckery with hitboxes and ADP, and, you know, all the enemies that can spam in certain areas, you know, not to mention just certain boss abilities being blatantly overpowered. You know, like the Ancient Dragon's Fire Breath attack from above is going to be absurd to deal with. You know, so just there are going to be certain parts of that run that are going to be uniquely frustrating and debilitating, but overcoming them will feel kind of funny. He's just having issues. That's kind of funny. Alright, Slayer, I will defend you. Chuck shit at them. That will be the strategy. One down. Slayer, you're the lightning guy. Be the lightning guy to this guy. Oh, Slayer does so little damage to these guys with his sword. Wow. Slayer, you were basically just a distraction this fight. Thank you for that, but... damn. You know, the weird thing about going through the trilogy the way I am is it's going to be interesting to see sort of where the strategy sort of solidifies in each run, because they're all different, right? Like, in Dark Souls 1, by playthrough 10, we're going to have a strategy solidified. We'll have our gear set up, you know, between all the variations of spells that we're going to get, that we can hold on like a single player sort of like slot basis. And by that point, the strategy is sort of defined in terms of how we deal with enemies that can hurt each other, how we deal with enemies that can't hurt each other, and how we deal with enemies that have different sort of quirks to them, right? Like we sort of have a plan in place by the time we, you know, get to sort of a certain point, you know, because by playthrough 10, we have a total grasp on what we can do, what we can handle, and we have, you know, we have a grasp on sort of how we're going to do the rest of the game runs, you know. And where that point comes into play is something I think it's going to be interesting when we get down to actually, you know, doing certain things in certain places. You know, because by the time we finish the Ornstein and Smough run, we'll have strategies down, and we'll have all the gear that we would ever need for these runs, right? Like we'll have all the we'll have 10 slots worth of most of the spells that we're going to use throughout the game, right? And our strategy will have evolved and be relatively complete by that point, you know, by the end of the Ornstein and Smough run. The Dark Souls 2 run is going to be weird because we can get a lot of upgrade materials to upgrade our weapons in the first couple of runs, but because of durability being so much lower in that game, we have to be very careful on how much of each weapon we use, you know, and breaking them. But we also have to be conscious of sort of how the quirks of each, like the quirks of Dark Souls 2 are going to be interesting to see play out because of the elements of items being all over the place that can restore health, restore spell uses, and cure status ailments, right? And on top of it all, you have the infusion of poison to weapons, and all the weapons that we can get. You know, we're probably going to infuse and keep as many weapons as possible just so we can actually keep weapons available. Because, I mean, getting from one bonfire to the next and getting from a bonfire to a boss can use up a lot of durability in certain weapons, right? So getting from there, you know, through like a, you know, like imagine a full level with like 30 enemies and they've got boss level health bars. It's like we are just going to be fucking screwed, you know? And it's just going to be a lot of crazy shit. So I was hoping you guys would... You don't see me. No, you don't see me. No comprendo. Max Dex, woo! Alright, now I can properly deal with the boss. But first, we get these goobs to kill each other. Yeah, just seeing different strategies across the three games is going to be fun to deal with the more I think about it. Like, Dark Souls 2 is going to have so many little variables of, like, loot all over the place that will help us throughout the run. And then Dark Souls 3 is going to have a weird thing where the strategy is going to be very front-loaded. Because by the time we get to a position where we're going to want to You know, by the time that we're in a position where we want to fight, or once we get to a position where we're happy, you know, like, by the time we get to a position where we're happy in Dark Souls 3, we might only be on, like, run number, like, 3 or something, between, like, what it takes to, you know, like, what it takes to, you know, to, because the main thing about Dark Souls 3 that's going to be advantageous is the difference in how spells work, you know, because with, like, with the shift of ammo being more finite in Dark Souls 3, that's going to present a problem. But that problem will be made up for by the fact that we now have FP that can regenerate once we get that sort of set up, right? And so we'll have basically what we need to have endless spells given enough time, right? And with the ability to have FP and HP regenerating, with items that we can hold, that'll change the way the run works by comparison to this run, right? We also don't have to go after spells more than once, right? We'll just get them and we'll be good. You know, we don't have to worry about a whole bunch of extra shit. Like in this run, right? Like in this run and in Dark Souls 2, we have to go through each run over and over and over and make sure that we have, you know, what we need from each run to, you know, we need to make sure we get all the spells from each run to make sure we get the max of what we can hold, right? Now, we're not going to need to do it as much as in Dark Souls 1, just because from what I remember, most spells in Dark Souls 2 have multiple people that sell it. So we should be able to pick up a couple of different versions of the same spell from different people across the entirety of the game. But we're still going to have to play the game several times over to get max stacks of, you know, like Dark Orb, for example. Especially because Dark Orb's fucking awesome in that game. Especially with how many you can hold at any one time. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the strategies evolve as we get further into this series. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be fun. You're annoying me now, so now I will shoot you. This is one thing I'm already noticing about this run, is that we're going to have a lot of, like this run is already going to be different just because these enemies hurt each other relatively consistently and pretty quickly, so we don't have to worry too much about, like, you know, resting at a bonfire and then slowly whittling a bunch of enemies down because they're just, you know, like the Quelaag run, because she doesn't damage herself with the lava, right, and with the lava in general, that just fucks up so many things. Iron Golem is relatively simple by comparison, so this run just feels so much better. It's also not glitchy, which helps. That helps so much, knowing that it's not glitchy and that it will work. It shall function, which makes me happy. It's one of those things where I'm just happy to be here right now. and not dealing with Quelaag anymore. That run, I didn't expect many runs to like hurt my soul. Like I knew certain ones were going to be worse than others, just because of previous tries at this series. But holy shit, that Quelaag thing was driving me nuts. One thing I am kind of looking forward to is doing the all Gwyn run, just because I've heard it's insane, and I've seen it's insane. And the thing that I'm wondering about is, like, my reference point for doing these challenge runs was I saw Challenger Andy do his video on Gwyn, and that was, like, absurd. And I've made the run kind of more absurd in a roundabout way because of the way I've sort of done my run by comparison to his. Because his Gwyn run was fresh, right? I'm doing this with a max level character by that point. All stuff upgraded to the max, spells unlocked to the max. But I'm also going to be dealing with the highest level of Gwyn possible in New Game Plus, like, whatever that'll be, what, like New Game Plus 24 or some crazy shit like that. Yeah, the scaling does stop, I think, at +7. But it's essentially the strongest Gwyn can be against the strongest version of me that can be. I also will have beaten all the other bosses by the time that we get there. But just one thing. The whole reason I started doing this was partially because I wanted to just see what it was like to do this randomizer shit. And also just to say that I could beat all the bosses before Challenger Andy could. Now granted, I'm doing random recordings as opposed to streaming regularly, but still. If I manage to beat him through all the boss runs, take that. Granted, I didn't do them all fresh, but I mainly didn't want to do them fresh because I kind of like the idea of doing it in a different sort of challenging way. Like, this is a different sort of challenge than just the base game stuff. Granted, each run successively got easier over time, but then you're dealing with New Game Plus stuff as well, like the enemy health, enemy damage, and other shit like that increasing as we go along. Alright, did I already buy everything I need? Yes, I needed ammo. Alright, now we go through the depths. I'm curious to see how far we'll get in this first recording. Trying to like find like what triggers their ranged attack to happen. At this point in this run, I think I might reset some weapons to do physical damage. Because the lightning bonus to bows, I realize, doesn't seem to do anything. Like, the damage doesn't seem to change. Like, I don't get any lightning effect, so I'm just assuming it doesn't actually do anything. Help them along, because why not? Oh man. Connection, the vibration's off. I'm tired of the screen shaking, it's making my eyes hurt. It's like staring at a blurry picture. Forgetting that I can just run past them whenever I know they can't chase me into where I'm going. Faith, because why not? It's the only useful stat left at this point. Actually, yeah, I think it might be the only one. Yeah, because Attunement's not going to do anything. Resistance won't do much besides raise resistances to things. Faith will at least boost our lightning damage. Alright, I need you guys to kill each other with great gusto. Thankfully, there's like 7 of you here. So that'll help this go by a little faster. Where the fuck did you come from? Yeah, boys, running. Okay, a lot of death going on. As long as it's not me, I don't care. Shit. That hit me from. Okay, you're up there. not target that one in front of me. This makes me angry. Save the guy in the building. Get out, dude. We're being attacked by iron giants. Run! Run! They're falling. They're falling in their houses. Oh shit. This is going to be a problem. They're going to hit me. Damn it, man. I can't even see them either. They're gonna be sniping me from up there. Shit, that's gonna be an issue. Could just try running past them all. Never mind. That clearly will not work well. Especially now when there's like 4 of them in the floor. Alright, let's wait for the ones on the bridge to kill themselves. Run! Oh, fuck. I did not expect you to be here. Go ahead and kill you two. Haha! We don't have to kill you! Oh, I was so glad that I don't have to go in that boss arena. Alright. This part's gonna be weird. You... Okay, never mind. Bye! I need all the shit you sell. Basically. I will come again at some point in the future. The distant future. Alright, so 2 died somewhere. Three have died. Alright, maybe if I stand here it'll be okay. Yeah, he'll just walk towards me, fall off the edge, right? Yeah. Except you. You have something going on. A little bit. Oh, he's gone. I love their fall animation. I just imagine like just a guy screaming. Just, hello, my friend. Actually, now I think about it, I don't need to buy his shit anymore. Because all of the stuff he gives, I have already like gotten a couple of times. Easy run, easy win. Easy run, easy win. Ironically, the more chaos down here, the better, because they'll be hitting each other. Real danger this run. These enemies just hitting hard. Get out, man. Get out. The world is shaking. Alright, let's see how this turns out. See, are they all stuck up there? Kinda looks like it. Dude, they're like all just like stuck inside each other, I guess. Woo! Shortcut time, please. There's lots of running. There's lots of running, lots of praying. There's a giant falling through the wall for some reason. He was number one. It's kind of funny how the head piece isn't really stretched out at all. It's like the headpiece is just its own little thing, and it's not affected at all by the cutscenes, it seems. Alright. Now we reset. Just so we can have as many spells as we need for Blighttown. We're booking it. Alright, now we get into Blighttown. And Blighttown's gonna be weird. Gotta be careful about them sniping us. This might just be a fuck it and run sort of run. Okay, never mind. I was going to say that, and I got stunned, and then... Oh, I didn't die. Okay, well, I'm definitely dead now. The more deaths, the better. I really need those two ones directly in front of me to, like, either severely weaken each other or just outright kill one of them. Damn it. I just have to slowly pick at him, I guess. really just prefer shooting the fucking bow at this point just because I can actually see where I'm aiming. I don't care if it does less damage at this point, it's just I want to see my target. Spam it more. Spam it more. Yeah, spam it more. be here a while. we should be good. Time to just book it. To the fire! To the fire! Sweet. Alright, this next bit's gonna be a long thing. Saw that. Getting tricky in there. Kill Quelaag. I really want to kill that Mawson in there. We're also very close, and these guys kill each other very quickly here at the bottom. why you're here, but okay. Hopefully I can aggro all the ones that would cause issues running the Pyromancer over there. let's get the fuck out of here. Let's kill Quelaag. Nice. Nice. Alright, we basically completed the first, like, quarter, third of the game. We did that pretty well. Once we can warp around, things will be a lot easier. Come on, move, dude. There we go. Alrighty. Alrighty. Well, that is all the time I have for this recording. Well, while we're watching them die, may as well get some free loot out of it. But yeah, we did pretty well this run. We did pretty well this first bit, so I'm thinking that we could probably do Sen's Fortress, Painted World, and Anor Londo like normal. And then, yeah, we'll see how far we get next time. I have a feeling that we'll probably have this done in about 3, maybe 4 videos if we do really well next time. I mean, we got the hard part out of the way, so we should be fine at this point. But yeah, that's going to be it for this. So I just have to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys later.